So it is, the month of Tammuz, and then we go down to take a look at the 7th month, the month of Ethanim, or as it's now called, the month of Tishri on your Jewish calendars, and you see that it is in accordance with the month of September. Sept means 7th. October, octagon, octo, 8th. November, novus, 9th. December, deca, 10th. Those 4 months harken back to God's original numbering of the month, whereas January starts out with Janus, the two-headed god of the Roman Empire, and then goes all the way to August, Caesar Augustus, the god of the Roman Empire. So it is that even on the pagan calendar, there is a little bit of a remembrance of God's original reckoning of time, even though the reckoning has completely changed. It's a year and a half ago that I said and wrote that Y2K is moot. It is totally irrelevant. December 31st, 1999 at midnight doesn't begin a day. It doesn't begin a week, doesn't begin a month, doesn't begin a year, doesn't begin a millennium. Even on the pagan calendar, the new millennium doesn't start till 2001. All that it possibly could have been is a 2-digit computer code problem. It had nothing to do with prophecy being fulfilled or God's prophetic timetable. And there were people saying that the Messiah is going to return on January 1st or at midnight. What ridiculous things. And then we hear 88 reasons why the Messiah is going to return on October 8th, 1988, and then we change it to 93 reasons why in 93. All of these things because we are ignorant of God's times and God's Moedim. We are to not be ignorant of those things, and we will never know the day or the hour of these occurrences. But we can know the times and seasons that we are allowed to know and restoring God's reckoning of time. Now when we come to the end of the year, I'll point this out that after 12 lunar months, which each month is 29 and a half days long, depending on the sighting of the first sliver of the new moon, it's either a 29-day month or a 30-day month. So after 12 months, you could have a year as short as 354 days. You could see how easily the solar calendar and the lunar calendar would get out of sync that way, seeing how there are 365 and a quarter days in the solar cycle. And so what God did is provided a way by which these things could be adjusted. And after the 12th month, then what we do is when the first sliver of the new moon appears, we have a question, what month is it? We'll go back to take a look at what month this could be. Because if the barley at the end of the 12th month, if the barley is now Aviv when the first sliver of the new moon appears, it is the month of the Aviv. But if the barley has not reached that level of maturity, the month is called Adar Bet, or a 13th month, to allow the barley to mature. Now this becomes very important in God's reckoning of time, especially on the prophetic calendar. We're going to see how that now begins to work out. Because now, when do years begin? They begin in the month of the Aviv barley. And on our calendar we see that Adar is the 12th month of the lunar year. The lunar month is 29 and a half days long, and the lunar year could be as short as 354 days. The solar year being 365 and a quarter, you have to synchronize the lunar and the solar calendars so that Passover is in the spring of the year in the month of the Aviv each year. And so the biblical Hebrew calendar requires a periodic 13th month to allow for the maturing of the barley crop in the land of Israel. That is where all time is reckoned from, Jerusalem. Now, at the appearance of the new moon after Adar, the barley must be Aviv for the new month to be declared the month of the Aviv. If it's not, it's declared Adar Bet. And last year, in 1999, in the spring, the new moon at the close of Adar was Adar Bet. Jewish Karaites found the barley in Israel that it was not Aviv, so an Adar Bet had to be calculated. Now the modern rabbinic calendar, or the Jewish calendar, calculates Adar Bet 7 times every 19 years, regardless of the barley in the land of Israel. And the calculation was put in place at a time that we didn't live in the land of Israel. So there's a reason why it was done. But now we are living in the land, and so we can go back to God's reckoning of time. Last year, the Jewish calendar was 1 month ahead of God's calendar, and It was this last fall that calculation in the reckoning was then made right.
Michael Rood will return with some closing thoughts in just a moment.
For 2,000 years, the biblical calendar has been in disarray. When Israel was ejected from this land by the Romans, it became problematic to maintain a correct calendar. It was difficult for a people who were scattered over 3 continents to determine the month of the Aviv barley in the land of Israel. The Jewish people then adopted a calculated calendar that approximated the month of the Aviv to determine when to keep the feast. But this calendar was based solely on calculation. The Roman calendar, which was dedicated to the Roman sun god, Sol Invictus Mithra, who was born on December 25th, was foisted upon the non-Jewish masses who were completely ignorant of the Creator's reckoning of time. The Roman Emperor Constantine expunged everything of Jewish or biblical origin from his government-authorized church and replaced it with the rituals and observances of Babylonian sun god worship. The ancient world plummeted into the Dark Ages, when ignorance and religious superstition reigned supreme for more than a millennium. The biblical calendar was seemingly lost to antiquity. However, since Israel became a nation again in 1948, there has been a revival of the Creator's reckoning of time in the land of Israel. Instantaneous worldwide communications have made it possible for everyone to be alerted to the beginning of the biblical months and years. We are no longer unaware of the Creator's times and seasons, unless we choose to continue living in ignorance. We invite you to join us again next time for Episode 7 in the 26-part series on the Prophecies in the Feast of the Lord, the Sabbath, the day or millennium of the Lord. This is Michael Rood from Jerusalem bidding you shalom, peace, and I'll see you when the smoke clears.